Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Grip Wild Men Who Matter podcast. We are elated to be here, and I'm elated about my new computer, Brando. I got a new laptop, new Apple product, MacBook. I'm not a computer guy, if everyone knows. I keep it pretty simple, so I couldn't even tell you what all this thing does. But what I can tell you is why I am so excited about this new.
Are you excited because now your computer works when it's not plugged in? Because before, your old computer, the moment that it came unplugged, it was over.
Yeah, my old computer, it was pretty much, it was done. It had seen its lifespan, and there was no unplugging it.
No.
And so, no, I'm not. What I am excited about is this new MacBook I have has this amazing technology dealing with passwords and signing in. And I can get into any document, any website, any bank account, anything I need to have with just the touch of my finger. And that is amazing. And what reason that's amazing, Brandon, is if you guys don't know me, you don't know this about me. Brandon does, but I literally, with a passion, cannot stand passwords. Username and passwords absolutely drive me insane because you can't ever remember them. Something got changed. They were automatically renewed. You did something wrong. But this new computer, all I got to do is put my little finger on a little button, and I'm right in there. It's amazing.
It's a real problem because they are everywhere these days. Everything we do takes a password, right? I mean, every app. I mean, I can't even look at my phone without a password. It's everywhere. And I remember days of you just hollering across the office because you get locked out. You couldn't find the password. This one's this one. And, it got so bad at one point, I think you had a sheet of paper somewhere that just had scribbles all over it, just one after the other after the other.
Look, if you ever want to break into something I'm doing, look, just type for the password. I hate passwords because most of my passwords are I hate passwords. So just food for thought there if you ever wanted to, not to say I have anything to take, but I do. I mean, I really do have this weird hatred for the whole username password system. And that's why I love my new MacBook because I ain't got to deal with it.
Well, it's a funny thing because we actually had an incident a couple of weeks ago where you were out on the road and I was trying to get access to something so that we could take a look at some numbers. And man, I had the password written down, saved in the computer just the same way you do, and I couldn't get in. And I'm calling you and you're like, no, it should be this, try that, try the capital. Don't capitalize it.
The capital.
Try period instead of exclamation point. And it was frustrating. And I got to this screen and it just, the most frustrating screen you get to, right? You have exceeded login attempts.
Oh.
Please try again in 15 minutes.
Oh, that's where, for me, that is where I go over the top. Mm-hmm. I lose my mind when I hit that. And that's so often why, honestly, I don't get things done, just so you know, Brandon. Because
stuck.
Once I hit that point, I am done. I'm done. I'm out. It's just not getting done.
And it was, for me that day, it was frustrating because I was trying to get something that, I had to get some numbers that minute. And it was like, nope, not going to happen. Sorry. Sorry. Do something else.
My wife is stranded on the side of the road. Sorry. Yep. Wait 15 minutes.
Yeah, man. It happens with my phone too. I don't know if your kids ever do that. If you mistype your password on the iPhone, if you do it enough times, it'll put the first time it's a 1 minute delay, then a 5 minute delay, then a 15 minute delay. And if you keep going after that, it will eventually erase everything on your phone.
Yeah.
And we just got to talking, you and I, about just how frustrating that can be in that moment where I know the information's there and I know the password, I have it. I wrote it down, it hasn't changed. And you hit that timeout screen and it's almost, like you said, I'm out. I'm just changing gears now. And man, it's it's frustrating, but I had this thought as I was sitting there for 15 minutes waiting, because then you're staring at the little clock in the corner of your screen, just 1, 2, 3, just waiting for 15 to get there. And in transparency, dude, it was like 3 cycles of that, because even after 15 minutes, I tried again and it still wasn't right. So it was another 15 minutes and another 15 minutes. But I had this thought as I was just sitting here pondering my existence. Man, life can be like that. Like, have you ever hit a situation in life where you feel like, man, I just log into Temps, succeeded. Nah, I just got to sit it out.
Yeah, like absolutely. When you said that to me that day, it really. You sent me a text with the quotation marks of like, look at this crap, like
Yeah.
login
where I am.
login temps exceeded. I'm stuck for 15 minutes, and if you think about it, it really is kind of a neat parallel to life, because I know for me, there's been so many times in my life where one or two things. One, I was so certain, I was for sure about what I was trying to do. I knew that I was right. And I knew I was right and I was gonna do it. But I wasn't, right? I knew the password was right. What are you talking about? It's the password. I know. Because it's the same one I use. It's the same one I always use.
Right.
How many times in my life have I said that? It's the same one I always use. I know it's right. But it's not. Something's wrong. Something's not right. But we're so steadfast on thinking and knowing that we're right, it puts us in a position where we're stuck. It's almost like I thought about this, Brandon, when I was thinking about it, was this idea that, so often in our lives, especially in our pursuit of our purpose and our pursuit with just being more intimate with Christ and understanding what it is He wants us to do in our lives, we get so determined to do it our way, and we're so determined that we're right, that finally He has to just step in and say, you know what, I've been trying to tell you that something's not right. I've been trying to show you that you need to make a change. I've been trying to show you that it's off and you need to kind of slide back over here. But since you're not going to listen, I'm going to sit you down for 15 minutes. And almost in our life, figuratively, sometimes we find ourselves in this waiting pattern because we don't know where to go next. Or in this waiting pattern of where God says, you know what? Be still for a minute. So that you can actually hear me and hear what I'm saying and hear my instructions and hear my guidance. Because I've tried to let you do it your way. And He often does that. I mean, that's the whole concept and discussion about free will. Like He wants you to flow, right? He gave you vision. He gave you purpose. He gave you talents. He gave you knowledge. He gave us the relationships in our life to be able to do the things that we're pursuing and kind of do them our way. And don't take that out of context, because it's we got to pursue God's way. But kind of there's free will in our life, right? He wants to guide us, but that's just it. He's going to guide us down those paths, and often we get off and we're stubborn and we're blind. And I know it. I know this is the way. This is my way. This is the way it's going to work. And finally, and again, figuratively, He finally just has to say, you know what? I'm going to put you in timeout, because I need you to stop, take a deep breath. I need you to have a revelation here. I need you to open your eyes, because what you're doing is not working, but you can't see it. So I'm going to stop you so you can. And so, I don't know, it's kind of a neat little, I don't know, almost revelation in myself when you texted that to me, of saying, you know what, think about, like, I'm going to have to just stop you because basically when you got to that point of login exceeded, I had to stop and say, well, what am I telling him wrong? Like, where did I change it? And I forgot that I changed it? Or if I changed it, what did I change it to? Did I use one of those automatic passwords, which are horrible,
You'll never
right?
remember that.
Yes, and they don't want, just FYI, if you're a new Mac guy in this new finger tap passwords, it doesn't do very well with those automatic passwords. It doesn't like those. You really need to do them yourself. But it did. It made me stop and say, well, what am I telling Brandon wrong? because something's not right. And so I don't know. It's just kind of a neat revelation of, sometimes God needs to put us in a timeout.
I'm just thinking about the Israelites. Like when God promised his people he was going to take them to a place, like he had something for them, and he brought them out of Egypt and like out of that whole story. It should have taken them 17 days to get to the promised land from where they were. 17 days. Like if you just went out today, hit the road, started walking, 17 days travel. It took them 40 years. And it took them 40 years because if you go back and read in Exodus, the whole Exodus story, their 40-year journey was propagated on their lack of obedience, right? They wanted to do it their way.
Yeah.
And they would push forward on their way and it wouldn't work out. And they'd be set back, right?
Yeah.
And they try to, well, no, this is the way we always have done it. That's the password I always use, and they push ahead and there's an obstacle and they can't get around it.
Yeah.
And it took that time out for God to get their focus right and get their head right. And it's really since that day that we kind of had this discussion and had that frustration. Like I've been chewing on this because in my own life, that's how it is. Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like you said, sometimes we're stubborn and sometimes we just, God, that's the way it's always been. Why isn't it working? Let me just keep doing it. But sometimes it's one letter off.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we're so close, but maybe there's something we haven't changed.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something in the guy in the mirror that's keeping me from taking that next step.
Yeah.
There's one little area in life,
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking about that for me. What might be the one little thing that I know I need to change about me, but I've been unwilling to.
Yeah.
Because until I changed that letter in the password, right? If it's a capital at the front and I don't put a capital in the first letter, or I add too many zeros at one, whatever it is, that one little keystroke is what's keeping me out, keeping me from getting there. And so I've been thinking since that day, looking in the mirror, what is the thing in my life that I need to, that I've holding on to, and think I can find a way around it. Man, I don't want to change that. I don't want to address that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so important. I mean, you think about, go back to the Israelites, it was a 70-day journey that they turned into a 40-year journey because, hey, there's a T in the road. Well, we should go right. Nah, I think we should go left. It looks like there's something down there we need to do, right? And so it's this 40 years of just not listening and wanting to do it their own way, and they turned a 17-day journey into a 40-year generation. Like it turned it into a whole generational journey, and we find ourselves like that in life. And so here's the thing, guys, I want you to grasp and see and understand. Often we talk about these big things in our lives, these big changes in our lives, like we're struggling with an addiction, or we have this terrible attitude, or whatever it is. We're talking about these big changes in your life to make a difference. But so often the little things, so often you just don't quite feel right. So often there's this uneasy feeling. So often you're so focused and sure that what you're doing is right, but there's one little thing off, and we lose sight in it. It reminds me of this thing, this idea of I'm a big bow hunter. Like I don't gun hunt a lot. As far as rifles, I love bow hunting. Now I shoot shotgun after the old quackers. But when you're bow hunting, when you're sighting in your bow, and so at 20 yards, your arrow may be slightly off, but that same setting, that same shot, that same setup at 50 yards is exponentially more off. And so it's the same thing with the ballistics of a bullet, right? As you go farther, that little mistake exasperates. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so a target that was only 50 yards away and you missed by an inch to the right, at 250 yards away, you're same setup, same gun, same thing, you're missing by several inches, if not more, to the right. And so a slight off kind of creates an exponential problem so often in our lives because we didn't take the time to say, wait, is there something wrong? Did I was I supposed to capitalize or whatever, right? And so our point is there's some little things in your life that I think we are so and maybe it's not even stubborn. I know for me it is. Maybe it's not stubbornness for you. For me, I find myself often just knowing that this is what it's supposed to be. And you mix that with my typical never give up mentality that I have, that you can find yourself in a trap by just not seeing a little adjustment. And sometimes it takes, I mean, even go back to the past where even like you failed, your logins exceeded and you're locked out. Well, what do you got to do? You got to call the lady with the master computer, right?
I've heard you make that call many times.
Yeah, you've heard it in there. How can I help you? Well, I'm locked out again.
Can you reset my password?
I need you to reset. And so, and even that is a great parallel of, sometimes God exceeds your attempts to get into something and locks you out and forces you to call him. Forces you to call the master of the passwords, who has the master computer system, who sees your account, sees everything going on and can say, I got you. Here's your new password. And so often that's what God's doing for us, to stop and maybe get in the Word or spend some time in prayer or spend some time in worship, because those are the ways you hear from God. If you don't know, that's what the Bible says. The Bible, people talk all about, I don't feel God's presence, or I don't feel like I'm hearing from God. Well, the Bible talks about the way that you hear from God, the way that you can hear God give you directions in your life is to be in his presence. And the three ways you find yourself in God's presence is in worship, in prayer, and getting in the Word, the Bible, the Holy Bible, the inspired written Word of God are the ways you find yourself in God's presence. And God loves you so much that when you're in his presence, he can't help but talk to you and love on you, encourage you, and direct you. And sometimes in our lives, we got to stop. We got to pause. We got to find ourselves in a moment of not always being 100 miles an hour and get in God's presence to get that adjustment, to hear that next direction, to find out why is it not working out, to get some encouragement from our Father who loves us so much that he really does want to do extraordinary things in our life. But just like anything else, he needs us to every once in a while, or actually he needs us a lot, but every once in a while we find ourselves in a point of we're forced to stop and hear from him. And I don't know, I just thought that whole analogy of login temps exceeded was just a beautiful picture of sometimes in our lives we really just need to stop and pause for a minute to get new directions, maybe just to get redirected, right? Just like on a GPS, when you take a wrong turn, just give it a second, it'll redirect you. And so our encouragement to you today, guys, is sometimes you got to stop. And my encouragement is I encourage you to stop, because otherwise, the fact of the matter is, history shows that if we don't, sometimes God's going to stop us. And he doesn't stop us to punish us. He doesn't stop us for any reason other than he loves us so much. And he has this extraordinary plan for our lives. And he sits back and he watches us slowly start to deviate from the path that it's going to take to get to our purpose. And he gives us context clues, and he gives us encouragement. He brings people into our lives. He brings opportunities into our life to steer us back towards that path that he created for us to ultimately achieve the things that our heart's desire is yearning for. And sometimes he's got to put us in a 15-minute timeout. I don't know what you guys can do with that today. I know it really made me think. And, the text message you sent me on that, basically saying, hey, we're wrong because it's locked us out. It really made me stop and rethink the whole process of what I've been telling you, which then made me think about just my own journey, our journey, of where we're going and what we're doing? And are we stopping to think and listen and hear God's direction in our lives?
That's good, man. It's been something I've been thinking about a lot. And so here's the challenge today. If you're in a place where you feel like it's just not working and you're not sure why, you keep entering the same password and it's locking you out. Instead of working harder to try to figure that out, maybe you do need to take a minute, take a second. Let it cool off. Kind of reevaluate some things. Or maybe you have the right password, but you're missing one letter, or it's not capitalized. What might be that thing that you're hanging on to that you need to make an adjustment on so that you can continue moving forward. Just chew on that this week. I think it's a relevant point for all of us.
Absolutely, guys. We hope that's an element of encouragement for you today. And again, just another tool for your toolbox of living out this extraordinary journey that God created for you. Man, He has so much in store for you guys. Just keep chasing it, keep pursuing it. And as you know, as we always talk about, being a man who matters is simply being in pursuit. But guys, I want to take a second to again remind you about our new Men Who Matter small group video series that we put together. Check it out at gripwild.com, and everything you need is there. So, man, we hope that you guys are encouraged this week and that you have a great week. And until next time, as you guys chase what you're chasing, just know while you're chasing it, you are a man who matters.